Hi there, welcome to the Ecofina Financial Channel. My name is Philip, and as usual, I'll take you through one major event in the global economy. Remember, click the subscribe button and set up the notification so you can receive regular updates from this channel. What we do is that we share economic insights and we analyze events in the global economy. We do all we can to ensure that you're making the right business and investment decisions. And that's why today, even as we continue our launch into 2022, we'll be looking at why you must consider regulations, how regulations impact your business. That's what we're going to be looking at today. 2022 has started already. In fact, the first month is almost over, and you've probably made plans on either starting a business or even expanding an existing one. But have you considered the question? Have you considered the impact of regulation on your business? Is there any indication that there will be a new policy in the nearest future, which will either positively or negatively affect your business? This is definitely an important question to answer, just to ensure that you're on the right path. Now, when you look at regulations, there are a set of rules and procedures established and maintained by an institution, while it is common for governments to be the ones enforcing regulations. It is not out of place. In fact, you see many other organizations, non-governmental organizations, are also having their own regulations. Sometimes it's just to promote the ethics of their business, or just to keep things within a certain scope. But of course, governments have more in terms of power to enforce whatever regulation they implement or they have in mind to execute. And that's why it's important to consider the regulatory risk of any business. In fact, Investopedia defines regulatory risks as the risk that a change in laws and regulations will materially impact a security, business, sector, or market. And that is it. Anything any governmental organization does, or any regulation at all, has the capacity to impact your business, can have either a positive or negative effect. And you must evaluate this risk properly to ensure that you're making the right decisions. We'll look at some of the examples in a short while, some of the positive and negative examples. But you must understand that if you do not plan appropriately for the regulatory part of your business, then you'll be exposing your business to unplanned losses. Because breaching any regulation usually involves fines, it usually involves penalties. And even if, for example, a regulation that actually exists in law is not being enforced at the moment, it's still something to be considered, because any government or at any time, that law or that regulation can be enforced since it's already written down. So never ignore it, thinking that, oh, okay, nobody's enforcing it now. It can come into force at any time and negatively affect your business. So let's look at the positive ones first. Tesla and other electric vehicle companies are really having a good time now. And that's because you see that governments all over the world are moving towards a cleaner energy. So you see all the narrative about climate change, and most governments are trying to push that. And because electric vehicles are seen as one major thing which promotes clean energy, is affecting that space positively. In fact, most of the traditional automakers like Ford and General Motors and Toyota are also putting in extra efforts to ensure that they are not left behind in the electric vehicle space. So that's a positive development. You can see where the regulations are going and how positively, and companies like Tesla already are doing well. Lucid and and even the other new players are not left out. And maybe even when you're considering investments, you see that has a positive long-term outlook. And when you look at a place like Nigeria, the telecommunications industry was for a long time under monopoly by the Nigerian Telecommunications Limited, NITEL. But in the early 2000s, everything got liberalized, and there were a lot of players. There are now a lot of players in that industry, which means that it's a lot more efficient, and that's the telecommunications industry is one of the biggest industries in Nigeria. But when we look at the negative ones as well, if you look at in Nigeria, how the cryptocurrency ban has had a negative effect on businesses, then you look at the ban on the sale of foreign currency to bureau de change operators by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then you look at the time when the Lagos state government also banned commercial motorcycles. There were companies that had invested heavily in that, like Gokada, like Opay, like Max. It almost completely eliminated that part of their business. In fact, they had to improvise to get into the logistics business. So those are the issues when it comes to regulation. If you very recently, the Twitter ban was also lifted, and that's after many months of the ban. So many businesses have also lost out as a result of that ban. And those are even small compared to the fine that the Nigerian Communications Commission actually imposed on MTN Nigeria sometime in 2015 for breaching a guideline to disconnect improperly registered SIM cards. Initially the fine was as high as 1.04 trillion naira. But after negotiations, they agreed to pay 330 billion, which MTN paid in full as of 2019. But that shows you how, how you cannot afford to toy with any regulation or think that they will not enforce it. Because if they do, then you could be in serious trouble. So every single business must know that there's a regulatory part of their business. And just as you're looking at the profit margins and looking at what the cost of, you must consider how regulations can easily turn that business either upside down or positively. So sometimes it's good when you know that a regulation is going to be implemented, you can quickly position your business to take advantage of it, because regulations can either make or mar your business. So if you ignore your regulations, it's at your own peril. So that's that's it for us today. If you think there are other things, reasons why you should consider regulations, you can share in the comment section. And if there are questions as well, we'll be glad to take them. Remember to subscribe to this channel, and we'll be back with you next time with another edition.